you just need to you have to have community first. You don't
Right.
want to come in and try to hawk your product saying, I need this many sales or I need this many signups on my website, etc. But you need to come in and you need to say, okay, what does the community need?
Mm.
What do they want? I always say this, if you help the community attain what they can't get from themselves and your brand can provide that to them, then you're embraced.
My name is Dr. Marc Williams. Welcome to my Masterclass. I have a PhD in education from West Virginia University. I have a master's in sport management and an MBA from the University of Massachusetts. I even have an undergraduate degree in sociology from William Patterson University. And currently, I'm the Global Scholar Practitioner at HBCU, Florida Memorial University. But I also work for 3 of the largest sports brands in the world, Reebok, Champ Sports, and Foot Action. But I can't go anywhere without my Jordan 1s. Join me and my guests as we explore their rise to the top through adversity and challenges. It's time to help you find a hero in you. Welcome to my Masterclass. Welcome to Dr. Marc's Masterclass. Yes, I'm in Dallas. I'm not as cold anymore, and you're wondering why I'm rocking LSU Eunice. Okay, because I was a visiting scholar there. Shout out to Chancellor Sorensen. What's up? Look, I have it on. All right, but I'm representing, I know it doesn't match, but I got Florida Memorial underneath. Always got to represent Florida Memorial University underneath my thing here, but that's all good. And I got the Lions right here. I don't have my Jordan 1s on. Actually, I do have the Jordans on. See, I always keep the jump man with me all the time, always representing, okay? But the Jordan 1s that's usually up on top of here are not up here today. But you know what? I feel like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He used to rock that. He didn't rock the Jordans, but he used to come on the show and say, and I don't want to sing the Neighbor song right now, but he was dope, okay? He had a nice, sweater. He had nice Bobo shoes, we used to call them back in the day. And he would just give you some lessons, right? What'd you think of Mr. Rogers, man?
Hey, he did his thing,
Yeah.
I mean, he got a documentary.
Yes, he got a documentary. Yes.
Very well done by Tom Hanks, I believe it was. But
Yes.
high viewership is, for a long period of time.
Absolutely. So here's the deal, everybody. I have someone special on. I say this about everybody, right? Everybody's special, but I really got a truly special young man with me today. And but before we start talking about him, I just want to encourage you all to continue to practice social distancing. We still got a pandemic, my friends, okay? I don't like wearing a mask, but you got to wear it. And if you don't like wearing just a regular mask, be fashionable with it. Wear something that's really cool. I got my mask. I got the city of Miramar, Florida on right here. John, what you got? What you rocking, man?
I just go straight black.
Straight black.
Try to keep it clean.
He's black, man. Yep. Keep it black. All right. I keep it black too, 24/7, right? But yeah, I got this. This is Miramar, Florida. The mayor of Miramar is Mayor Messam. He played on the 1992 championship football team with Charlie Ward, wide receiver. They call him Mayor Messam. That's really his name, Wayne Messam. And the only way you remember the name Messam is like, I'm going to mess you up, right? But he doesn't mess people up. He's a great mayor. So represent Florida Memorial. But I'm here in Dallas, and I love being here, with the Esports Future Ride Podcast Network, as well as the Innovation Media Enterprises with Aaron and Sia. Aaron and Sia holding it down, and AJ on the 1s and 2s. When I say 1s and 2s, I do not mean turntables. I mean the way he makes us sound with this microphone in our hand. And we got a brother here named John Davidson. He is a host of the DLC Drop. Let me say that again. The DLC Drop on the Esports Future Ride Podcast Network. Yeah, we're podcast network mates, if that's what you want to call us, right?
Teammates.
We're teammates, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't think I was going to be teammates with John because the only teammate I thought would have been part of him would have been working with GameStop, but I didn't think I wanted to work in corporate America anymore. But today I want to talk seriously about just the ecosystem of the video game industry. One of the things that really concerns me is really parity and D&I, making sure that there's diversity and inclusion, and making sure that there's that people from all walks of life get the equal opportunity. And one thing I love about this guest that I have, when I first met him, I kind of got a sense of that's the kind of person that he is. And over the last 2 years, I'm starting to discover that he really, truly embodies what he talks about. A lot of people talk about D&I. A lot of people always tell you, my best friend is white. My best friend is black. My best friend is this. When you got to start thinking about who your best friends are and the label of what they are and what they look like and how they sound, I'm gonna walk away from you. Now, one time if I met this person, during the time I've known him, has he ever said, well, I got a black friend, or I got a white friend, I got this. He just says, I know somebody dope. You need to meet him, or you need to meet her, or you need to know about this. And that's when you know you got true authenticity. And so I welcome this person to the show. He, again, is my, I guess, my podcast partner, right? So there's about 7 of us now that have our show here on the Esports Future Podcast Network, and he's one of them. And I'm honored to bring John Davidson to the stage. He is the CEO of the DLC company. So it's the Davidson Learning Company. You know why? Because his last name is Davidson. That's why. So he has his own company, and he's educating some folk. Okay.
That's right.
He's also the president, the past president, and the chair of the board of the Esports Trade Association. He's a board member of the Dallas Influencers in Sports and Entertainment. He's a board member of the Uptown Agency. He's also an advisor. We're both advisors for the Stadia Ventures in Frisco. We love the Stadia Ventures. Director of Business Development for PRG. He was a former head of partnerships for GameStop. And so he is one of the architects behind the GameStop Performing Center. Yes, we're going to talk about that too. And I got a chance to actually see this wonderful monstrosity we have here. and Charles Conroy is another good friend who's also part of that deal. There's a lot I can say about this person. He also was a professional skateboarder, but he's one of the most humble people you'll ever meet. And he owes me a game of pool. Okay, we're supposed to play a game of pool at the crib very soon. I don't know how good he is, but he may be a hustler. But I'm not going to bet any money. I'm not betting any money. We're just going to bet maybe a mask or something, okay? Because I don't know about this cat over here.
I just won't tell you if I play left-handed or right-handed.
That's scary. We got an ambidextrous pool player over here. Okay, so he's showing off because he rides skateboards. That's crazy enough. All right, and which means that he's got crazy balance and crazy he's out there. But now he plays pool. Man.
I need something new that I'm good at in my old age that I can't be falling on concrete as much as I used to.
Did you say you're old? He said his old age. My man's not even 40 yet. It's about his old age.
Hey, skateboarders, we age like dogs.
So skateboarders are like video games. So in skateboarders, what is the average age? Like the oldest person, the max, as far as like.
I mean, when you're going to a skate park, you're probably going to have most kids in their teens.
Yeah.
You know, late teens.
Yeah.
A lot of kids start when they're around 14.
Okay.
Usually just life gets in the way after high school, you know, and it's hard to get good at skating. You have to do it all the time, and you have to enjoy it enough where you're falling on concrete for fun. You know, there's a certain point where you don't want to do that anymore, and so what's so funny, dude, because I look a little younger than I am. I wear a hat. I always say if I wear a hat and I shave, I look 15.
All right.
But I had this moment at a skate park, and you know, one of the cool things about skateboarding, it doesn't matter how old you are because you're all there for the same reason. You love the same thing. You just, you know, if you skate, you can relate, you know?
Right.
And so it goes beyond generations. So you could be with somebody who's shredding a bowl who's in their 50s, or you could be skating with a kid who's 13 and you have that camaraderie. It doesn't matter how old you are, right?
Right.
Well, this kid comes up to me, I knew he was in high school, and he's like, man, that dude over there is really old. He's 30. And I said, you know how old I am? 37. And he just goes, damn. And he skated off. Like he felt so bad for me.
Wow.
I was like,
so there are people,
I'm as old as your dad and I'm better than you.
There are people that are skating at 50 still? Really?
Yeah. There's a few, you know, they're typically skating bowls and half pipes and stuff because that's lower impact.
Okay.
So one thing that I've really focused on is, I think that enables me to skate at a high level to this age, is I've adapted my skating to my age.
Okay.
So I've always thought ahead and said, because when I was younger, my favorite thing was just jump off the highest stuff I could find. Stairs.
Did you have like any protection on?
No, of course not.
That's that's something you don't do. That's sacrilege if you do that in skating.
I mean, it's kind of lame. And then it gets in the way.
Wait a minute. So you have knee pads on? That's like really like what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, if you're skating vert, like the big half pipes,
Yeah.
like you're definitely wearing a helmet and pads and stuff because that's how you bail. Is like if you kick your board away, you knee slide out, so
Right.
you need knee pads for that.
Right.
But I mean, street is just like
Street, you have
you can't
nothing.
see the scars on my arms right now, but there's. I used to think that I didn't have that many injuries, and then I found out most people don't have tons of injuries.
Right.
I was like, "Oh, you haven't broken your back? Oh,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
where?"
Wait a minute. You didn't break your back, did you?
Yeah, when I was 17.
What?
This is a story.
And you went back and did it again?
Well, I couldn't skate for 6 months, but I used to skate with a back brace. I used to put a back brace on every time I was going skateboarding for years.
Okay, tell me this story. You got to tell
Okay,
me
so this is
this.
kind of a funny story. So I've had a number of broken bones, but when I was 17 years old, I was skating a competition at a skate park in Visalia, California.
Mhm.
Well, they had this fence that bordered the skate park.
Mhm.
In one area, there's a 3-foot high quarter pipe.
Mhm.
The fence is about 4 feet above that,
Mhm.
and then there's cement on the other side.
Mhm.
So I used to launch off the quarter pipe over the fence out of the park.
Mm.
And so I used to do that, like, to film it and like just for fun. And so we had this competition there. There were a couple other dudes who could jump the fence, but it was a rare thing, right?
Mhm.
Well, the owner of the skate shop I skated for, he's like, John, in your warm ups, don't practice all in the fence. Just do it in your run.
Mm.
Because a lot of the way you get high scores is by surprising the judges.
Mhm.
They're like, oh my gosh, high score. So I wasn't skating that well. I kind of tweaked my ankle, and my mom was there watching me that day.
Mm.
And she didn't come to all of my competitions, but the ones she could make, she went to. And I told her early on, I was like, Mom, if I fall or something, like, please be quiet. Because
Mhm.
she'll get wrapped up, go, John, go,
Mhm.
and it's great to have the support, but at that age, it's embarrassing, right?
Right.
I was like, Mom, chill.
Mhm.
Well, I have my last run. I'm not skating very well this day.
Mhm.
I was like, man, well, if I jump the fence, maybe I'll get second or third, whatever,
Right.
right? So I go to do it, and I knew I was going too slow. But in these situations, you'll always like push yourself a little more. You'll go a
Mhm.
little further than you would otherwise. I was like, I'm going for it anyway. I ollie, this event, my front foot caught on the top of the fence.
Mm.
And I felt, last thing I remember before I was on my back was my hands like this and the concrete.
Mm.
And so fortunately they made us wear helmets in that situation.
Mhm.
Who knows what would happen to me if I hadn't. But my back bent the wrong way and I fractured 2 vertebrae.
Mm.
And the funny part of it is my mom is in the stands. There's like 500 people at the skate park. They all go running to me, right? Because this
Mhm.
kid just looks like he died. And my mom is having a conversation with another mom, and she's talking for like 5 minutes.
Mhm.
And then eventually she's like, "Excuse me, I'm so sorry. That was actually my son who fell.
Mhm.
He hasn't gotten up yet. I should go check on him."
Yeah. Wow.
And that's so my mom. Like, I think a great reason why my brother and I were able to skate and do the things that we did on skateboards
Mhm.
is because my mom was more concerned that we not have a boring life
Mhm.
than that we break some bones.
Okay.
And there were multiple times I come in with a broken arm,
Mhm.
one time broken and dislocated and all sorts of things. And she's like, John, what'd you do this time?
Mm.
And so I'm really thankful for that. And
Mhm.
I don't know why I'm wired that way, that it's just, I put it this way. At some point, being injured or being in pain or those falls, I'm gonna wanna avoid that more than the feeling of rolling away from a trick.
Mm.
But currently, the feeling of rolling away from a trick is a higher priority to me, and it's worth those falls and those slams. And sometimes I even get a little pride out of it because 'cause I'll slam hard and I'll get back up and do it the next try. So,
Wow. Do you think that that's interesting? Do you think that you're being a skateboarder in terms of overcoming adversity and rising to the challenges that has that impacted the way you do your business?
absolutely. Yeah, and I didn't really recognize it until I heard another pro skateboarder talk about it.
Mhm.
And, yeah, he said, "What I do for a living is I fail over and over and over again. I think for hours sometimes, and you get that one trick, which is 3 seconds in your video part that has to be about 5 minutes long or whatever." And, yeah, as I look back on it, I'm used to trying things and persevering through it, and a lot of it is it's not even so much slamming because I'm a pretty consistent skater, so I land tricks pretty often. That's kind of my strength.
Mhm.
But is scaring yourself to try something that you're mentally scared to do and you physically know you have the ability or you think you do,
Mhm.
and getting yourself to do it.
Mm.
And so when I compare like, okay, I'm gonna speak in front of this crowd or I'm gonna try this thing that I've never done before, uh, I'm not really that concerned because it's not like my body's on the line. Like
Mm.
I've done that for 25 years where I've jumped down stuff where I'm thinking, I mean, there's been times I've gone to a handrail to film and I made sure I had my insurance card on me
Wow.
because I was like, I'm probably going to the hospital, you know?
Wow.
Now I didn't go to the hospital at that time. There's
Mhm.
probably other times where I should have had the card with me.
Mhm.
But I remember one specifically, there's this rail in my hometown of Reedley, California, at Reedley College. I have a photo of it actually, and it's this it's this handrail, and we always used to skate the stairs, and nobody had ever done a trick on the rail.
Mhm.
And I remember always looking at that, and I went with my photographer friend. I was like, "Dude, I gotta nose slide this rail. I gotta do this trick on this rail." And I remember like, "This is going down." Made sure I had the the insurance card.
Mm.
But I don't know, it's just,
Oof.
man, skateboarding is the best feeling in the world. Just like when you lock into a trick and you ride away and just, hard to explain. There's nothing like it.
Do you still find yourself wanting to do things are there things that you haven't done yet that you've wanted to do, or do you still try to do things that you did when you were younger that you think you can still do?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I've fortunately, like I said, I've kind of adapted my skating. So I've gotten, I used to just jump off really tall drops,
Mhm.
and then I started getting a little more technical with ledges and flip tricks. Then I learned how to skate bowls and half pipes and stuff to a point. So now I'm more focused on. I love skating like rails, like when you have like kind of a ramp to like a
Mhm.
flat rail.
Mhm.
That's my favorite thing in the world. There's a park near here where I skate all the time. I did a video for my 36th birthday. It was 36 tricks for 36 years,
Yes,
and
yeah,
it was branded
yeah.
with the company. And so that's my absolute favorite thing to skate. I What's funny is I remember when I used to still jump down stuff.
Mhm.
I remember thinking, man, it's gonna suck when I can't do this anymore.
Mm.
But now I stand at the top of like big stairs, and I'm like, I have no desire. Like I'm like, why would anybody want to jump down this? But I love the other aspects of skating that I can still do.
Mhm.
But so now it's basically it's not how many stairs can I jump down, it's can I do this technical trick where I flip the board and I grind or I grind and then I do a flip trick out sort of a thing. So
I
just for
is there exercises that you do to make sure your ankles are okay before you do these tricks, John?
no, I mean I definitely I stretch a little bit. I gotta stretch more now. What's so funny, I've always been somebody who warmed up really quick.
Mhm.
And so I just jump out of the van or the car and just like go. And then I start slamming hard
Mhm.
doing that because I wouldn't give myself enough time to warm up.
Mm.
And so now it takes me about 10 or 15 minutes to really get going.
Mhm.
And what's so funny is I'm rolling around the skate park and I'm just thinking, like, these kids are looking at me thinking, this old dude, all stiff, cruising around. I'm like, set your timers. It's coming.
Mhm.
I'm like, you just wait. So I'm glad I can still do it at a level that I'm happy to do it, still learning tricks.
Mhm.
And
Are when young people see you, are they in awe of your ability to do things, or they just nonchalant about it, or do you know that they're like, holy wow, that's pretty dope what he's doing?
yeah, I don't like to be too much about myself, but when I go with people, I don't hear it a lot because when I do a trick, I land and I roll away, right?
Mhm.
But what's funny is I'll go with people. I was with a friend last weekend at a skate park, and she was like, "Oh, you're good when these kids are like, holy sh!"
Yeah.
Like, I was like, "Oh, is that happening? That's funny." And so,
Oh, you're oblivious to it.
yeah, I
Wow.
mean, well, I don't know. Sometimes you'll hear people like cheer and stuff,
Mhm.
but I mean, I'm probably one of the better people to skate park each time,
Right.
and
Okay.
that's kind of been the experience throughout my life.
Mhm.
Um, but I've also gone from when I was young, it was all about me and I cared all about the applause and everything like that, right? And then
Mhm.
like I've kind of evolved into somebody who if nobody sees me skate, do I still enjoy it?
Mhm.
I went through that a number of years ago where I was all about Instagram. I was all about the image, all about the life I was living or showing the life I was living. I was really living on others people's validation of
Mm,
what I was doing. And so I went through this kind of course correct where I was like, wait a minute. Like, I'm a pretty simple person. I enjoy a few things.
right,
And I found myself like, there's a lot of things I could do that other people think's cool. And it's like, if nobody sees me doing what I doing, do I enjoy it?
right.
And so, my skateboarding's really a big unplug for me. Like,
Mhm,
I put the phone in the car and I just like, I say very little. In fact, I was fortunate to be featured on a website called The Barracks, which is the most visited skateboarding website in the world.
mm,
And they featured me as like, "Oh, this guy who's GameStop, esports marketing, and that he's a really good skateboarder," was kind of the story. And there were all these comments and stuff, and, somebody said, "I've seen this guy at my skate park a
mm,
bunch of times, and I've never seen him say more than a couple words to anybody.
mm.
I never would have guessed he had such an interesting story."
Wow.
And it's because I talk all day, I'm engaging people all day, and so I love to be friendly,
Right.
but I really do kinda just keep to myself, and I go and I shred and I push myself as hard as I can go that day, and,
Mhm.
um, yeah, that's kind of the vibe.
Do you think that speaking of, there was a very interesting point you made about living off of other people's validation. Do you think that human beings, we do that a lot, or what are your thought
Absolutely.
process about that?
Yeah, I think it varies by the person.
Right.
For me, you know, affirmation is like fills me up so much from other people.
Mm,
I think we are a product of our environment. We're a product of how we were raised,
mm,
and so if you did not necessarily get some affirmation as a child, like you might need that or crave that,
mm.
and you could go into some places to get that may not be as healthy as
Oh,
other
yeah,
places, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so
Wow.
they have there's this book called The Five Love Languages. Have you ever
Mhm.
heard of
Yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah.
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 So like words of affirmation is one of those. And that's my main thing.
That's your love language?
Yeah. So
Okay.
like if I want to be like and it goes, it's not just like romantic relationships, right?
Right.
It's like even if like a boss says like, "John, you did a great job here."
Right,
I'm
right.
like, "Oh, yeah." Like some people need to be like slapped a little bit and some people need to be
Yeah,
like told they're doing well and
yeah.
everybody's encouraged in different ways. I'm definitely the type of person if you just say, "Hey, I'm really proud of you on that," or "You did a great job." I'm like, "I'm gonna work even harder for you."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, um, but you can rely on that too much. And
Mm,
I think it's really important in life to focus on what you yourself can control.
right.
And I've dealt with this in the business world with clients,
Mm,
and I've dealt with this with there's some people I know in various industries that are pretty high profile,
mhm,
and some of these high profile dudes can be maybe cocky, or
mhm.
maybe they just are so busy, like, they might be your best friend one day, and the next day, like, they're just too busy, and you feel like they blow you off, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
you could relate.
I can relate.
And
I'm
so
one of those people, but go ahead.
and so, what I've caught myself realizing is, like, my sanity and my happiness can't be based on somebody else's reaction,
Mm,
based on stuff that I have no control over.
uh,
And
wow.
so, it still can be a challenge for me, but I remind myself, like, let's say if, I saw you at an event or something, right? And you're busy or something, and you didn't really give me the time of day. I gotta remind myself, like, that has nothing to do with my value,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I'm still who I am, and
But it
so
took you time to get that to that point though, right?
it
Would you
did, and
say?
I still have to remind myself of it, but
Mm.
I've come a long way to learn it.
What would you
Yeah.
say to people out here who we've talking skateboarding, we're talking about a lot. We're here again with John Davidson, the host of the DLC Drop on the Esports Future Ride Podcast Network. And we're here also with Innovation Media Enterprises with Aaron and Sia holding it down for us, AJ on the wheel to steel with the sound. But let's talk about this, John. A lot of people are interested in the gaming industry, video game
Yeah.
industry, want to get into esports. What do you say to that person, whether they are a young person or if they're someone who's changing their careers that want to get into esports? And maybe the sport, that industry is closed to some degree, right? And people may blow them off or maybe not give them the time of day. What would you say to those people that are pursuing that career path?
Yeah, it's becoming more open all the time.
Hmm.
What I would say is you gotta be community first. So you don't wanna go there and say, "This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. You need to be a part of what I'm doing," sort of a thing. What you need to go is you need to and it's I'll break it down of different types of people,
Okay.
right? Or different
Sure.
types of situations.
Sure.
So, if you're a young person, you're trying to get in the industry, I
Mm-hmm.
think the best thing you can do is volunteer.
Mm.
Volunteer with a team at an event, something like that. Now, obviously, this is post-COVID, right?
Right.
But experience is the most important thing in your business career. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't have experience, you don't know much. Like, the way we have learned things is by doing them.
Mm.
And whether you did them successfully or whether you failed, um, the reason why these people have backup plans at live event productions is because they've been there before and they've seen it go wrong, or they've seen their mentor or their boss tell them, "Hey, we need to make sure we've got a battery backup for this," sort of a
Mm-hmm.
thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all have the same 24 hours in a day, but it's like, what are you doing with those 24 hours?
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell young people, I'm like, look, for the first 5 years of your career, you're you're not going to get paid much. You get paid enough. You don't have a lot of bills yet, so it's not a big deal. You could feel like you're a $40,000 millionaire.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you can greatly increase your experience
Mm.
compared to those that are the same age of you, your colleagues,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be in a much better place at year 5 when all of a sudden the promotions start happening, the raises start happening,
Mm-hmm.
right? So young people, go and just volunteer.
Volunteer. You heard that. That's one.
And a lot of people, I want to say this because a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, these companies are taking advantage of kids. You're not paying them, whatever." It is an investment in your future.
Mm.
Any person who tells you that quote unquote working for free is being taken advantage of has a limited mindset.
Mm.
And I'm not here trying to get a bunch of people to work for me for free, so it doesn't benefit me. I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell people, see the long game.
Yes.
Everything you do, see the long game. If you're only seeing the immediate game, look, when you're trying to start anything, you're gonna have to work harder than
Yes.
down the road once you're maintaining it, right?
Right.
That's just how life is. So volunteer. For brands.
Mm-hmm.
Brands get into the space, non-endemic brands. I talk to them all the time. My company DLC, I do consulting. I help them understand how to engage this community, building strategies that work for their brand, etc. Call me.
Yeah, that's a plug. So DLC, yes. Contact my man. Tell everybody how to contact you.
So dlcyouth.com is my website. John at dlcyouth.com.
We're going to do this throughout the broadcast because you got to market and brand the people you're talking to.
That's right.
So let's do that again. John, tell them how to contact you again.
John at dlcyouth.com or John Davidson Esports on LinkedIn. You'll find me.
Yeah, I just had to throw that. But go ahead, John. I just want to make sure we got to plug you. Go ahead, brother.
I appreciate you, my man.
Yep.
So, sponsors, brands that are from outside the space coming in, you just need to you have to have community first. You don't want to come in and try to hawk your product saying, I need this many sales or I need this many signups on my website, etc. What you need to come in and you need to say, okay, what does the community need? What do they want? I always say this, if you help the community attain what they can't get from themselves and your brand can provide that to them, then you're embraced. And I'm going to give you a great example in the skateboarding world. By the way, I feel like a big piece of why I understand the gaming community so much, I'm a part of it, yes. But my life in skateboarding from age 11 to today, you think gamers are hard to reach? Try to reach skateboarders. And the biggest difference is a desire to go mainstream. And I'll give you the litmus test is the Olympics. So skateboarding will be in the Olympics this year. It was supposed to be in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. You talk to any skateboarder, hey, should skateboarding be in the Olympics? They will laugh you out of the room. They will make jokes about the jerseys that they're going to have to wear, everything. Skateboarders think the X Games is whack. Everything outside thinks the X Games is the coolest thing in the world. Skateboarders don't even like competitions at all.
Really?
The reason they're skateboarding competitions is because they're the best opportunity to make incremental revenue for skateboarders.
So you're saying they just like it for the enjoyment. They don't want it. They want
skateboarding is not inherently competitive. And in fact, it's more of an art form. It's more expression. It's about video parts, going out in the streets, skating what's not meant to be skated, and putting that on film and putting a video part together.
Wow.
That is the core and the heart of skateboarding. It just so happens that you can have competitions. Now, one of the problems with the competitions is that the tricks are so subjective. A trick that might be easy for me might be really hard for somebody else, and vice versa. It's just really interesting how those things work out.
It's like hip hop, like, you have a hip hop artist and you have rap battles. I mean,
Right. Like someone's bars were better than this person's, and sometimes it's obvious.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of times it's subjective. It's what style do you like? Did that really hit you? Right. And
That's interesting.
so
That's like having rap in the Olympics. I'm just trying to picture that. That sounds crazy, but yeah,
rap battles in the Olympics, I'm backing it.
Well, they're having breakdancing. Yeah, that's coming up. Yeah, breakdancing. Yeah.
All right.
That should be interesting.
So like I was saying, it's like the litmus is the Olympics. So you ask any skateboarder about how do you feel about skateboarding being in the Olympics, and they're going to say, "Oh, how embarrassing! That's the dumbest thing ever. A bunch of jocks." That's what they'll say. You ask any gamer, "Hey, should esports be in the Olympics?" Now, I know it's a longer story about what title, etc. But they will argue till the cows come home. Yes, it is a sport. We should be in there. We deserve it. Blah blah blah. The difference is the desire to go mainstream. Skateboarders would rather be left alone and have it all left to themselves. Now, it hurts the skateboarding space, in my opinion, because it doesn't enable it to grow. But that's what's positive about the gaming and esports space, is that there's a desire to go mainstream, and they receive validation. They feel it as validation when non-endemics approach them and support the space in a way that's meaningful to them.
Now, do you, even though you're someone that can look at both sides of it, would you prefer traditional skateboarders, to have that same mindset? Or do you ever think that it'll ever evolve into what esports is in terms of everyone gravitating towards that mindset?
Yeah, so because I have kind of a business mindset, I think about everything from a business perspective. I'm very open to brands being in the space, in the skateboarding space. Now, what I love about gamers' perspective of it is I call it a healthy skepticism. Because you're not letting just anybody in. I mean, shoot, if you do it wrong, you're never gonna have a second chance. You get blacklisted. But what it does is it's almost like a filter. It enables brands to come into the space who are willing to support the community, and their dollars are funding our activities.
Right.
So it enables us to grow. In skateboarding, it's just like, if you're not skater owned and operated, I don't want you. And so I would much more wish that the skateboarding community had the perspective that gamers have. Now, this is what I'm predicting. I think once skateboarding is in the Olympics, there's going to be massive mainstream growth. And the community that grows from that is going to be mainstream, not core. So I think they will be more open to non-endemic brands, because they don't come from that core mindset. And so you're still going to have a group of core skateboarders, and they're going to hate that.
Right.
But the way I look at it is this. The way we get to do cool stuff, it requires money. You know where the money comes from? Sponsors. That's just how it is. In traditional sports, there's media rights. There are sponsors, but the bulk of it is media rights.
Right.
But let me just say this is, this is a lesson maybe for skateboarders, but also gamers. If you want more stuff that costs money, what costs money? Making videos, making content costs money. Having tournaments costs money. Having cool venues like Esports Arlington, the GameStop Performance Center. These things require money. You know who pays for them? Brands. Brands put money in to gain an ROI, return on their investment. And the reason they do that is they'll make more money than if they don't do that, or if they do something else. And so I would call in our community, yes, continue to be skeptical, but the brands that do it right, let's embrace them, let's champion them, let's give them a reason to keep those dollars flowing into our space so we can do more stuff that we love.
Wow.
And that's what the Esports Trade Association is a lot about.
Tell us about the Esports Trade Association.
Yeah, so I got recruited to be on the interim board about 3 years ago. Time flies. And the interim board there voted for me to be president. It was one day they said, "Okay, we need a leader." And Megan Van Petten, she's the founder, a great friend of mine, bless her heart. She shoots me a little chat like right before the vote. And I was going to vote for somebody else. you know?
Mm,
My man Donnie Newfus, he's the one who, recruited me
mm,
on, and he's amazing. He also introduced me to PRG and stuff. He used to work for PRG.
mhm.
And, so I owe that man a lot of things, and he's a really good friend. Actually, yesterday was his birthday. So
Oh, happy
happy birthday,
birthday.
Donnie. Uh, so Megan shoots me the little chat. John, it's gonna be you. And I was like, what? Sure enough. So I was president, and then we did we pulled together the permanent board in August of 2019, or sorry, 2020, and so I became chairman as a result of that.
Mhm,
And so what we're doing, the mission is to help improve the business practices of the
mhm,
esports industry to enable gamers to enjoy more of what we love.
mm,
And what I mean by that is, this is a great example. Sponsorship revenue is the number one source of revenue in esports. And sponsors are going into the space and they're not receiving a great ROI on their investment.
mhm,
That is extremely volatile. It's very threatening to the growth of the industry.
mhm,
And because what's going to happen, the CMOs who are allocating these dollars for the brands,
mhm,
not everybody understands like all the sides of this. And I've been fortunate to experience the agency side and the brand side and the production side.
mhm,
So CMOs are only at brands for 2 or 3 years.
mm,
You got a limited amount of time to make those dollars work.
mm,
And guess what? If those dollars aren't working, they're going to pull them and they're going to put them somewhere else
mm,
where they have experience.
right.
Very few have experience in esports. They have experience in traditional sports, traditional media, these other things. The reason why there's been such a rise in esports in the last 4 or 5 years in the US is brands and agencies that support them see that there's decreasing viewership in traditional sports and
Mhm,
traditional television.
mhm,
They're doing the research and they're saying, well, what are all the kids doing? Because they're trying to reach youth, right?
right,
It's
right,
really youth marketing.
right.
Oh, kids are playing video games.
Mm,
Well, the thing with video games is it's super hard to interact with a video game consistently over time.
mhm,
You could sponsor a video game release event, but like I know at GameStop, there's like 2 week promotions up until a game release, and then it's done and it's on to the next one. So how do you have a strategy where you continue to do that? Well, they look at esports and they see like Poland and these other places where they've got these crazy tournaments. It's a little different in the US.
mhm,
But they say, "Oh, I see familiar sponsorable assets that I
mm,
recognize from traditional sports. I see
wow.
jerseys, leagues, teams, venues, content. I know this world. I used to do this in the NFL, but take my dollars here and put it here. I see these crazy viewership numbers." Well, it requires a lot more context, and you
Mm,
also can't approach youth the same way that you approach older generations because young people demand more from brands.
mm,
And what they demand, well, I tell every brand, if the experience of the community is not better as a result of your brand being in it, you're not ready for it
wow.
because you get one chance.
Mm,
So if you understand that, you go to the community, so you understand you need to enhance their experiences in a meaningful way. Well, what's meaningful to them? And I'm telling you, just sit down with some kids and ask them. They know more than they realize they know.
mm,
And I encourage a lot of college students to this too. This is the truth, and you know this because you've worked at a lot of colleges. Is and college students, don't be offended by this, but this is the truth.
when someone said, "Don't be offended," oh, go ahead.
Here we go. Get ready to edit this out if needed. But no, so is when you graduate from college
Mhm,
and you are hired at a company, like it or not, you are unskilled labor.
mm,
The reason why you are needed is because the leadership does not have enough hands and feet to carry out the strategy that they are deciding on. And so they need people that are two things: have a strong work ethic
mm,
and are organized. If you have a strong work ethic, you're organized, and you go to work every day, you're gonna go far in the first 5 years of your career. Now, here's the other thing though, which is gonna be inspiring, I hope, to kids who game and are familiar with esports. Esports enthusiasts, we'll call them, fans, gamers, are more valuable than any other new graduate.
mm,
And the reason why is because these experienced professionals, they have all this experience with traditional media, traditional sports, traditional marketing.
mhm,
They don't know anything about gaming or esports and they don't understand the community.
mm,
I've talked to so many people who are like 15, 20, 30 years older than me, and it's consistent. And they say, John, I don't get it. I've marketed for 30 years to people who are me, who interact with brands the same way I do. This group, I've tried it. I've spent the hours. I've done it. I'm not trying to learn it. I'm trying to find people who I trust
Mm.
who can tell me what to do.
Wow.
And so what I encourage older professionals, and I encourage college students, create mentorship relationships. Young people, go find an experienced professional and just say, "Hey, I love gaming and I know a lot about esports because I'm in it every day. I probably know more than I realize. And I'd love to just sit down with you. You ask me any questions you want. What's cool? What's whack? What we should be doing? What I want to do more?
Mm.
What no one's thought of, right?" And in turn, I would love to gain from your advice and your experience in business if
Mm.
you would like to have a mutually beneficial mentorship relationship.
Mm.
And older experienced professionals, I encourage them. I say, go to these classes. I'm on boards for, I'm on a board for UNT. I'm involved with SMU's Esports Certificate Program. And so I go to these kids and I tell them, seek out, a professional. I have college kids I talk to all the time, man,
Mhm.
making sure that I'm staying cool.
Mm.
But to take it back to the Esports Trade Association, so that's really what we're doing. We want to improve the business practices of the esports industry. A lot of reasons why brands aren't receiving an ROI. A lot of times it's because the partnerships aren't being activated or maximized the way that they could.
Mm.
And I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying that usually the people who are doing that don't have a lot of experience in that industry managing partnerships.
Mm.
And that goes across the whole gamut of the industry.
Mm.
So we want to bring together the esports industry and bring together complementary experts who are in it for the right reasons, not the cash grab, not just to get rich quick, but
Right.
who are interested in investing their time and getting to know the community and benefiting the community. Bring those people together, enable them to share knowledge, create relationships, and hopefully it'll result in our industry growing more sustainably.
One thing I keep hearing you say consistently is community. Um, so you mentioned something. Okay, so let's just. It's a lot to unpack here, but it's not a lot to unpack because some of this stuff is common sense. Especially when you're talking to people and you're trying to develop a symbiotic relationship. That's to me the best kind of relationship when you're developing a symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely.
If you don't know what symbiotic is, go look it up, please.
Mutually beneficial.
Mutually beneficial. Yes. It's not an SAT word. It's not an ACT word. Just look it up, please. But my audience, we're a smart audience, so we're going to do that. I know you're going to do that, but seriously, that mutually beneficial relationship between two parties is so essential. And that's why you did so well being the head of partnerships at GameStop. And that's what my background was when I was working for Champs and Foot Action. I was the head of global partnerships as well. And I think that when you think about people first, and think
Yes.
about how you benefit the community that you're around. You grew up in California, you grew up in Hispanic communities, you lived in all sorts of communities.
Yeah.
But when you were in those communities, you didn't think, okay, I'm just John. You thought about, hey, I'm a part of this community. How do I make it mutually beneficial for me? Because I want to be a part of this, right?
Absolutely.
And so the same thing with skateboarding. You're like, okay, there's about 12-year-olds to like 50-year-olds skating, but
Right.
how do you make that environment during that time that you're there exciting for people? You share ideas, you communicate, or in your case, you perform without really speaking, and people get to emulate maybe what you do. The point is that there's different ways to giving back. But one thing I like about about the DLC, but also about your podcast, and also about what you said that are very important for young people as well as people that are in these brands is volunteering and community first, right? Community first. And then while you get into that space, the work ethic and organizational skills is the reason why people want to hire you.
Yeah.
Right?
I'll tell you this is the way to build a network, community in business, we call it a network, right?
Right.
And so, boy, your network is so important because you know who people hire? They hire people they know.
Yes.
They hire people they trust. They hire people that they have friendships with. In fact, the reason why it's illegal to just hire your friends is because people hire their friends all the time.
Right.
And guess what? They do it anyway. They find ways around it.
Right.
Every great job that I've gotten, that I've been hired for, is because I knew somebody.
Yes.
And the way that you build a network is not by going to people and pitching them. It's not by telling them about yourself. It's about bringing value to them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you bring more value to people, when you go to them first and you just help them with what they need, they're going to keep you around. And
Mm-hmm.
on my podcast, I had Jeff Moore. He's the president and COO of Team Envy. He was with
Mm-hmm.
the Dallas Stars for a long time, other traditional sports franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying, he's like, man, I'm a busy guy.
Mm.
And he said, you know how many people are coming to me with my hopes, their hopes and dreams, and oh, Jeff, I want to do this and I want to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
will you help me? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, dude, I got problems. I got a team. I got to figure out how to do, monetize and market and all these things. I got
Right.
family at home. I got a mortgage, all these things. He's like, if you can help me solve my problems,
Right.
then I'll have time and bandwidth and you'll have my attention. Then I can help you with your problems.
Wow.
But the way to build a network, and especially these high level people, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you got to understand, a lot of people don't realize is like people who are high level
Mm-hmm.
have people asking them stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even that high level. I got people hitting me up constantly,
Mm.
right? And it's like so much I can't even read all the messages, you
Wow.
know? And so it's not that I don't want to help people, it's that I don't have time. Well, if you're supporting my content or you're introducing me to somebody who's mutually beneficial, you're bringing me an opportunity, then number one, it gets my attention, right? It's
Right.
hard for people like us to get our attention because we're so busy.
Right.
And so I just want to encourage people that don't go to people and pitch them.
Right.
Go to people and say, hey, what can I help you with? What are your goals?
Right.
Now, everybody knows there's a pitch behind that,
Right.
right? But just say, I want to learn more about what you're doing and see if I can help you.
Right. And if you can't help somebody, it's okay. Developing that relationship is so important. I always tell people it's not who you know, but who knows you. It's all about relationships. And
Well said. Yeah.
if someone that you know is they could be a friend, or they might be an associate. They may be someone that you just happen to have met, and you may not do business with them right now, but still you don't know. In the future, it could happen.
Yeah.
Just get to know people, right? Because you never know. John and I don't think you probably know this, maybe you don't know this, but the reason why I'm here right now, everyone, on the Esports Future Podcast Network is because of this man right here. Yes, he's the reason for that. How is that? He when he was at the Esports Trade Association as president, he got me to join it, which I did. And then he said, hey, why don't you, he recommended me to be a part of a panel discussion.
Right.
And through that panel discussion, Sia, who is the co-producer of the show with Aaron, she contacted me in September and said, I would love to get you on a podcast to be interviewed with a few of the podcasters there. At the time, they didn't have the podcasters, but it turned out to be one of the people that's on there is John, and John has a podcast, and it was really interesting. Lewis Johnson, who's one of my favorite broadcasters ever. And I've always wanted to be interviewed by him, but I wasn't good enough in track to be interviewed by him. But I got a chance to be interviewed by him on his podcasting network, and I think it was Chantel as well.
Yeah.
Those are the two shows that I want to be a part of, I think in December, and that's how I met Jacob. And now I'm here. And again, I had no idea. And so you don't know where anybody's going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. So when you get to know people, don't expect things to happen overnight. Like when you're in classes, you're in school, you can walk by. This is what I tell people. Do not do this. Walk on campus and do this all the time. Look up sometimes, because you might walk past your future business partner, your future fiance, future husband, future wife, future whatever, if you look up and say hi sometimes, right? Because you don't know. John and I met. I don't even know how John and I met. I think through Stadia Ventures, but I invited John to one of my classes that I was teaching at the University of Houston almost 3 years ago now. Yeah. And we maintain a friendship. I don't see him every day. I don't talk to him every day. Right. But we pick up where we live off all the time, right? I don't have to hang out with him. I don't have to go to dinner with him all the time. You can still have friendships with people without seeing them every day. Yep. But people sometimes think, John, that I got to see you every day. I got to be your best friend. I got to be on Instagram and Twitter with you. No, you don't, right? Yeah. You can still manage and maintain a friendship. There's different kinds of friendships. And I think the most important thing we learned today is that symbiotic relationship, getting to know people from other cultures and who they are that don't look like you, And we have to bring John back because we really need to dive into the part of talking about D&I. And like I said,
Yeah.
he is one of the people that I love to talk to about this topic because you are someone who's serious about it. We still haven't talked about the GameStop deal with complexity. There's a lot to unpack here, brother.
Yeah.
We're coming up on the hour. So can you come back?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because we really need to talk about that. I think the basis of my show and all the shows are about esports, but guess what? The end of the day, it's really about relationship building and
Yeah.
how do we manage and maintain that. And I think that that our country needs it right now. We need healing. We need people to touch the mind, body, and soul in the hearts of all people. And it has nothing to do with race, gender, or class. It has something to do with the human condition.
Absolutely. I
Right?
think, we could tease some of the D&I stuff because I'd love to talk about that a little bit. At
Sure,
least I know
sure.
we're coming up on the hour. But let me tell you what I realized when I was
Mhm,
building the board for the Esports Trade Association. I was so focused on building a diverse board.
mhm,
And you know what was shocking and heartbreaking to me?
mm,
Was how difficult it was.
mm,
Being so purposeful to do it,
mhm.
to find quality, qualified people who are diverse.
Right, right,
And there's more than one type of diversity,
right,
right? Like there's color and there's gender, but there's also background,
right.
right? But I wanted to have people from all sorts of backgrounds, but you also can't in this day and age build a board that's just a bunch of white people. You're like, but they're from different places. You know what I mean?
One has blue eyes, one has brown eyes.
That's
Yeah.
right. You know what I mean? Or just all women or all right.
Right,
You can have all sorts of lacking diversity,
right, right.
but what it opened my eyes to, and during the death of George Floyd, I
Mhm,
wrote a newsletter and we're talking about diversity in esports.
mhm.
And so I talked to you, I talked to a number of other people because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't misstepping as somebody from outside of that community who was looking at it in the wrong way.
Right, right,
Right. So thank you to you and the other people who helped to check me and make sure that my words and my thoughts were on target.
right.
But there's a number of things. Number one, I think it's so important that we highlight minorities, not just who are on the stage, but who are in business.
Mm,
And we give, because what that does is that gives people vision.
mm,
You could say one of the most positive aspects of Barack Obama's presidency
mm,
was that he showed black men that it was possible to be president,
mm,
right? It's very rare that people have the vision to do something that nobody's ever done before.
mm,
A lot of times you can feel limited that I've never seen anybody who looks like me do that, right?
mm.
And you probably know this even better than I do. But highlighting people and saying in these communities, even if you're not a star athlete or you're a star musician, you still have a future,
Right, right.
right? And I think around the junior high level is when you need to give people vision.
Mhm,
And then around high school and college, through that period, you're developing the skills.
mhm,
Because I mean, honestly, man, when I went to college, I had no idea what I was going to do. I
mhm,
dropped out of college the first time I went skateboarding for a living. Then
mm,
I came back once I knew I wanted to do marketing.
mhm,
But in high school, if if around the junior high area age, you could show people, especially in minority communities who appear to have limited options. Wait, the CMO of Activision Blizzard is African American, right?
mhm,
The commissioner of Overwatch League and Call of Duty League, etc., right?
mhm,
And then, of course, doesn't mean you don't need to highlight the stars who are on the stage as well, but
mhm.
to say, hey, not only do you have an option, you've got multiple options
Right.
because every community, you're gonna have kids who are good at a variety of different things,
Mhm,
right? You're gonna have somebody who maybe they have a gift for marketing, have a gift for communication,
mhm.
but they don't have a great voice from a singing perspective,
Right.
right? Well, hey, if you can see Lewis Johnson
Mhm.
as this broadcaster, like, wait, I want to do that. I find it
Right.
very natural that I understand the games and I'm able to talk about them and everything. And then throughout high school, the education leads towards developing those skills.
Right.
Uh, and esports, the thing I love about our industry is there's so many different aspects of education that you can take
Mhm.
and then filter into the esports industry.
Yes.
Marketing, communications, there's a whole art side,
Psychology,
psychology,
law.
Exactly. You need accountants,
Mhm.
right? You need social media
Physical
managers,
therapists.
everything. So
Yes.
everything in traditional sports and even more because you have the whole art and design side
Yep.
and coding and software development side of it.
Right.
And so one thing I love about our industry, we're not where we need to be,
Mhm.
obviously, but I love that our industry is aware of the issues.
Right.
And that means you have a starting point to make real change. And so
Absolutely.
that's what I have a heart for. And I hope that I can use my influence and the things that I do to help people now who need help, but also to provide vision and development for people who are going to be the next generation of our industry.
Well, you say you hope to, and you have, brother. You have been,
Thanks.
you are, and you're continuing to do it. I know we can talk about this another time. You and I are embarking in something potentially huge that you got me involved with. Again, brothers doesn't stop. You know, he really wants to bring and break the gap and bring cultures and communities together. And I think the DLC drop his show on the Esports Future Podcast Network is powerful. The DLC, the Davidson Learning Company, also again a company that he's the CEO and founder of, so important, and he's really focused on community and building community first. Very important. Not too many people think about that. People are not selfless, but we need to be more selfless and really find ways to see how you can contribute to society. Hey, John, tell us again how people can contact you.
Absolutely. So you can find if you go on LinkedIn, you search John Davidson Esports, I'll pop up. You can find me, my company on Instagram, DLC_youth,
Hmm.
both on Instagram and Twitter. On Twitter, personally, I'm John Davidson, but J0HNDAVDSO or S0N, so zeros instead of O's there. A little complicated.
Say it again, John. Make sure they know who they talking to.
At John Davidson, J0HNDAVIDS0N.
There
Zeros
we
instead
go.
of O's.
Okay.
Yeah, holler at me. I love to connect with new people. Love
Twitter
to help
too?
anybody I can. Yeah,
Twitter.
Twitter.
Same thing. What do you want? What do you want? Twitter.
Same on Twitter. Yeah,
Okay.
same on
Listen, I'm telling you, people out there, we really need to really think about this. And again, it's a pleasure. I mean, I could be talking another hour or two with John, but we really need to think about those things: community, volunteering, and really developing a strong work ethic. Make sure your word is your bond. Make sure that you have integrity. Make sure that you are just an honest person. And again, it has nothing to do with your race, class, gender. That's important. You know, people like to make it important, but you as a person is more important, and developing those
Yep.
real meaningful conversations with people and real meaningful friendships is so important. So remember, I always say three things that you can control: what you think, what you do, and what you say. That's all you can control. You can't control anybody else. And I just want to encourage you all to continue to practice this social distancing. This mask wearing is so important, my friends. We've lost too many people. I don't want to see us lose anybody else. Even if I don't know the people, I'm still empathetic. And so I would encourage you to drink your tea, have your honey. You know, I got my honey over here on the side. I got my Lions hat. Yes, I'm representing Florida Memorial University, HBCUs all day, every day. And again, thank you for listening to Dr. Marc's Masterclass. We're here on the Esports Future Podcast Network. We shout out to Innovation Media Enterprises with Aaron and Sia. AJ, thank you so much. Miles, Jacob Miles, thank you so much for providing this opportunity for all of us. We will see you soon, and we will talk to you again. And we're going to bring John back to talk to you again on this show. And you have a great day, night, whatever time you're listening to this podcast. Peace. Thanks for listening to Dr. Marc's Masterclass. I pray you enjoyed yourself today. I had a good time. I don't know about you, but this podcast is part of the Esports Future Podcast Network and is produced by Innovation Media Enterprises. Please be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast channel and let us know how we're doing by leaving a comment or a review. Class dismissed.